We're here with Dr. Paul LeBlanc, who's the president of Southern New Hampshire University, and he's recognized as one of the leaders in higher education today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kevin. It's a pleasure to be with you.
How are you doing today?
I'm great.
I understand you've been traveling all over the world.
I've been traveling a lot. We've been doing a lot of work that's gotten a lot of attention. So from meetings in D.C. to across the country, and most recently in Copenhagen. So yes, a lot of telling our story.
You came to Southern New Hampshire University in June of 2003.
That's right, 10 years ago.
And since then, the university has doubled in size.
Tripled.
Yeah. Tripled in size. You also voted number 12 in Fast Company magazine's World 50 Most Innovative Companies.
It was the world's 50 most innovative companies list, and we were number 12 last year, and we were the only university on the list.
Really? How do you think that happened? What makes them recognize your innovation?
Well, in fairness, I'm not sure that higher education has a reputation for being particularly innovative. You know, if you take a look at the old cathedral schools of medieval Europe, a lot of those classrooms would not look so dissimilar to what you see in a lot of campuses today. So I'm not sure the bar was that high, if I can be modest for a moment. But I think, we have done a lot of good work in rethinking delivery models, 3-year degree programs. We're the first program in the country to be approved by the Department of Education for competencies built around direct assessment of learning. So rather than credit hours and courses, students master 120 competencies. And if they can go really fast and do that, that's great. We found lots of ways to lower cost. Cost is a huge issue today for families and students. So I think it's that mix of sort of, I think they said we relentlessly reinvent. And I like to think that's a great phrase for how we think about things.
I think it's interesting when you just talk about competencies and being able to measure the success by your achievement and not necessarily how many hours.
Right.
I always thought that's the way education should go. Is that something that you brought to the university, or is that something that was already here?
So we actually designed a 3-year degree program 15 years ago, before people were talking about this. And those were built around sort of using competencies to accelerate learning. So a 3-year undergraduate degree was a big deal. And now that's kind of become a hot topic. The breakthrough with our more recent program is that while the older program was still tied to courses, the new program isn't even tied to courses and credit hours. No one takes a course in this model. They have 120 competencies, and they have to show their mastery. And if they can do that on day one, check that box and move on.
Is that the College for America program that you're
talking
about?
It is. There's a modestly named College for America program.
I met someone who was telling me about it, and they were saying that this is giving such great opportunity to people who would never have this opportunity.
Right.
And there's a lot of corporations that are buying into this.
Right, so there are very large employers who are partnering with us now. And we target the bottom 10% of the wage earners in those large organizations. We're really geared to people who are working adults, juggling family, juggling work, trying to get an education in, not a lot of resources, so price is a big deal for them, and they know things. The idea of sitting in a college classroom for 16 weeks when they already know math doesn't make sense to them. So we give them the opportunity to demonstrate what they already know and accelerate to a degree faster.
How do you market that program?
We do it entirely through our business partnerships. So it's with the HR departments and the CEOs and the employers themselves, and they get really enthusiastic about this.
I also see that on television that you've been pretty aggressive in your marketing of the university.
Yes.
And your online programs.
So we set out 4 years ago to build a national brand. SNHU was local, it was Manchester, it was New Hampshire. It wasn't even that well known south of the border in Massachusetts, frankly. And we started to build our brand over time. And then 4 years ago, we went to the board and said, we want to do some test marketing, and we went into a bunch of cities where we had no reputation. We went into Milwaukee and Oklahoma City and Raleigh-Durham, and we did some test marketing in television. And our conditions were that we had no brand traction, that there were lots of for-profit alternatives, and that there weren't many not-for-profit alternatives. And the question we wanted to know was, if we went into those markets with our online programs, would people come look? And they did. And they looked in good numbers, and that convinced us that we could take our brand national, and that's what we've been working really hard at for the last 3 years. So now you see our ads in all 50 states, and my mother thinks that they run too often during Jeopardy.
That's funny. I'd like to get personal for a second. I read about you dressing up as a rabbit
Yes.
And actually, you wrote this letter.
A letter to myself at age 21.
Yeah, yeah. And I actually read it, and I thought it was great, because a man like you that has had so many honors and accolades, and you were voted one of the most influential people in New Hampshire. And
It's a small state. That's like being one of the best hockey players in
I
Saudi
know,
Arabia.
but to be able to write something like this, and to be able to say, when you look at the mirror or you open your refrigerator, and
Sure.
just remind yourself.
Yeah.
And actually, that was really kind of. I thought that was extremely cool that you can look at yourself and not take yourself so seriously all the time.
Well, thank you. It's the exercise we were asked to do was write a letter to ourselves back when we were 21 from the perspective where we are today. So I'm 56 at the time. I forgot how old I was when I wrote that. But I think I run into so many people who are so serious-minded about their reputations and about their place in the world that they seem to have forgotten to laugh at themselves. And it's a gift that my mother, who's 95, coming on 96, taught me a long time ago. She can still laugh at herself. It's a great tool for resiliency.
I was reading about your leadership style, and there was a breaking bread with foes. There was an article or something that was written about, the typical things that happen to CEOs and,
Sure.
and presidents. Not everybody's going to agree with you, especially when you're an innovator and you're trying to do things that are different.
And on academic campuses, you have a lot of smart people with strong opinions, and they're not shy about voicing them. That's kind of the territory. So this was a few years back, but I decided to invite my harshest critics, the ones at least I knew about, to have dinner with me. Mm-hmm. And what I wanted to do was, my commitment was that we sort of close the doors, I'd buy dinner, and that I'd just listen. And I wanted them to share what their concerns were. So it made us better in terms of going forward. It helped them feel heard, and that's important to people. They just want to be heard sometimes. Like, are you listening to my concerns? And that was important as well. And I think it sort of improved. I think it improved communications. I think it just was a better thing to do.
Thank you for taking time to talk to me about SNU.
Yep.
That's how you pronounce it, SNU, right?
We say SNU.
SNU. Something
SNHU, SNU, whatever.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you for taking time to see me, and I think that this will be very interesting to my audience. Thank you again.
It's my pleasure to see you, Kevin, and happy to join you.
We'll be right back with more Brandworth right after these messages.